She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA.
What Rebecca Lobo just said about Caitlin Clark and WNBA officiating is a real wake-up call, and one the league can't afford to ignore anymore. We just witnessed a powerful example of the Caitlin Clark effect in the Fever vs. Sun game. But while her impact on the league is undeniable, the poor officiating in that same game could seriously damage the WNBA's credibility, and possibly its future. Rebecca Lobo, a respected WNBA legend, just put it all out there. What she said wasn't just a personal opinion, it echoed what many around the league are quietly saying behind closed doors. And the truth is, the league probably won't be happy about it. But it needed to be said. If there's one thing this situation proves, it's that the WNBA still hasn't figured out how to properly support and protect its biggest star, Caitlin Clark. We'll dive into what Rebecca actually said and break down a new development with the Indiana Fever that's promising in many ways, but also highlights how serious the league's inaction really is. Before we get into that, go ahead and like this video. Every like is a spare whistle for the refs, since the ones they have don't seem to be getting much use. And don't forget to subscribe for more updates on Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Now, let's rewind for a second, because the WNBA clearly needs a reminder.
It's the nerve, the second-year player clearing out that side of the floor, shooting on Stewie, and then watch the reaction with one another. Stewie's laughing.
Caitlin Clark made a powerful comeback just a few games ago, scoring 25 points in the first half alone. In just 38 seconds, she sank 3 deep threes, lighting up the court and reminding everyone, not just the fans, but the whole league, exactly who's leading the way.
And Cunningham is down behind the play, but they've got Caitlin Clark. Two players with incredible ups. Clark, another long three. She's back!
This was the game that said it all, the moment everything became crystal clear. The WNBA doesn't just benefit from Caitlin Clark, it depends on her. And those 5 games she missed? They didn't just slow things down, they exposed a problem. Viewership dropped, social media went quiet, and national interest faded fast. Without Caitlin, every other WNBA storyline felt like background noise.
But here we go with Caitlin Clark, singularly, being missing for the time she was gone, and ratings tanking, 50% in some cases. And then also she comes back and reminds everyone how spectacular she is. And everybody's talking about the WNBA. So if you needed to sort of have it affirmed to you that it is just her, that the singularity of her is what we are talking about and her star power, you got it with this absence and then the way she came back.
After weeks of falling ratings and growing criticism, Caitlin Clark's return didn't just boost the Indiana Fever, it gave the entire WNBA a major lift. Their game against the New York Liberty drew a peak of 2.8 million viewers, making it one of the most watched WNBA games ever. To put that into perspective, the NHL's Stanley Cup final averaged 2.5 million viewers. And while basketball and hockey aren't an exact comparison, the fact that Caitlin Clark pulled more viewers than a major men's championship series says a lot. That kind of impact isn't normal. Unfortunately, WNBA leadership seems to be missing just how big this moment is, but Rebecca Lobo hasn't. She's an Olympic gold medalist, a Hall of Famer, and one of ESPN's most respected voices. Before we get to what she said about the referees, just listen to how she explains the true impact of Clark's return.
Becca, tell me, what does Clark's return mean for the WNBA?
Well, I mean, it means a lot more people are paying attention once again. We know how much Caitlin drives ratings. We know how much Caitlin drives attention on the WNBA. And for her to come back and do it in that way was just ridiculous.
Pay close attention to what Rebecca Lobo said, people are watching again. It's a simple line, but it speaks volumes, because if people are watching again, it means they stopped watching. And we all know when that drop-off happened, when Caitlin Clark was out, but Lobo didn't stop there. She went on to explain exactly why fans came rushing back the moment Clark stepped back on the court.
I'm sitting there at the end of the first quarter when she had that 38-second stretch where she drained deep three after deep three after deep three. I was just sitting there thinking, I've been around this league since 1997. I have never seen that in a WNBA game. Have we seen players go on runs? Of course we have. But not like that, not where a couple of the three-pointers are from 30-plus feet. It was an exhibition by her.
Here's the thing, these weren't your typical long twos or regular deep threes. Caitlin was hitting logo-range shots like it was nothing. Very few players can pull that off consistently, and even fewer make it look so effortless. That's exactly why fans keep showing up to watch. Even Natasha Cloud, who hasn't always had the kindest words for Caitlin's fanbase, had to admit the truth. You have to start guarding her the moment she crosses half-court. That's not normal. Just ask Rebecca Lobo.
Just ridiculous. It's not often that you're watching the WNBA or that I'm watching it and I'm like, wow, I've just never seen this before.
All of this makes what's been happening, not just since Caitlin's return, but really going back to last season, especially troubling. This isn't just about missed calls or physical defense anymore. It's about a clear pattern. One that's become so obvious, so out in the open, that even respected WNBA veterans like Rebecca Lobo are now speaking up. And that game against the Sun? That should have been a wake-up call for the league.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabry. Boom! I mean, come on.
During the game, J.C. Sheldon and Marina Mabry basically took turns going after Caitlin Clark, first a swipe to the face, then a hard body check that sent her to the floor. And somehow, neither of them was ejected. Now, let's be clear, Caitlin had been going back and forth a bit with J.C. earlier, sure. But some trash talk doesn't give anyone a free pass to get physical. You can't just throw the league's biggest star to the ground like it's the WWE and expect no consequences. Even the commentators were caught off guard. You could hear the shock in their voices. They were expecting someone to get tossed. And across the league, the reaction was the same. Coaches, analysts, fans, even fellow players were stunned by what they saw.
Hey, we would have been crashing that team.
Courtney, if somebody ever tackles you like that,
Nobody would ever tackle me like that. They would play with Bridget like that, and then we would have to like take it up there.
okay.
You see what I'm saying?
But I'm just saying,
Nobody would ever tell me like
if
that.
that ever happened, you better crash out behind me, because I'm crashing out behind you. We can share the same jail cell.
Of course, the face swipe and hard shove on Caitlin was the moment that went viral, the clip everyone's talking about. But let's be real, it wasn't some random outburst. The tension had been building all game long, and the refs were letting way too much slide.
This is J.C. Sheldon right here with an entire handful of Caitlin Clark's shoulder and bicep, and she's twisting it. Okay? I mean, this is wild. Here's the zoomed out look, the snapshot. I mean, this league does not have control of its players.
The tension escalated quickly, and things got heated in no time. You could tell Stephanie White was furious even before she spoke. Her body language said it all. She sat down, took a deep breath, and then let it all out without holding back.
You know, the game has changed so much. Players are faster, they're better, they're bigger, they're stronger. They're as good as they've ever been. They're as athletic as they've ever been. The game is fast now. Things are happening quickly. Everybody's getting better, except the officials.
Yeah, that was just about the harshest way you can criticize the refs without calling them out by name. Saying, "We're improving, and you're not," really hit a nerve, and it reflects exactly what so many players, coaches, and fans have been feeling for a while. The frustration didn't start with the Sun game, it's been growing all season. Missed calls, inconsistent decisions, and the way players like Caitlin Clark are being treated by officials, and not in a way that keeps them safe, have all added to the tension.
What was that play? Oh my god, this is rigged. This is rigged. She got yanked, fell on her hip. That's a hack! That's a hack! That's a hack! Oh my god, they hacked the one upon her and they hacked Caitlin Clark. They are both hacks. They are both hacks. They hacked Fever twice, and then there was a phantom foul called on Sabrina Ionescu.
Oh my god, this is rigged. That was the reaction from fans after a chaotic stretch where Caitlin Clark took a hard fall on her hip with no foul called. It was a clear hack, not once, but multiple times. Dewana Bonner got hacked, Caitlin got hacked, and somehow the Fever ended up with nothing, while New York got the calls. Even a phantom foul from the preseason was brought up. That's how bad it felt. Everyone watching could see it. Indiana wasn't getting the same treatment. But everything boiled over during the Fever's 90-88 loss to the Liberty. That game became a flashpoint. Fans were frustrated, players were upset, and the officiating just felt flat out one-sided. New York was getting ticky-tack fouls called their way, while Indiana could barely get to the free throw line. The difference in foul calls and free throw attempts was hard to ignore. But the real outrage came in the final moments. Caitlin Clark was clearly fouled by Natasha Cloud on the last possession. She couldn't even get a shot off. Replay after replay confirmed it. Social media blew up. Analysts were calling it out. Fans were furious. And head coach Stephanie White? She completely unloaded after the game.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways.
It's clear things haven't been fair on both sides. What's interesting is that Stephanie White got fined for her recent comments, but not for her outburst after the Sun game. That almost felt like the league was quietly acknowledging she had a point, like even they knew it couldn't be defended, and honestly, they should acknowledge it. Because before we even get into what Rebecca Lobo said, which was eye-opening and, frankly, concerning for the league, we have to talk about the bigger issue, the growing frustration that's spreading across the entire WNBA.
The second time where I'm attacking, it's very physical. I'm saying something to the ref, watch my landing space, watch physicality. I get laughed at, and it ends in my ankle getting turned. The same thing happened in Dallas, a flagrant that wasn't called. Same thing happened here. So my ankle is hanging in there, but it's starting to get very frustrating. I'm averaging less than 2 free throws a game, and I drive. I'm physical. I'm not someone who's avoiding contact. So I just hope that the safety of players starts to become a priority versus the ego of refs.
Players are raising real concerns about rough play, and instead of being taken seriously, the refs are literally laughing at them. Not ignoring, laughing. Meanwhile, players are saying, I'm going to get hurt if this keeps happening. That's serious. Now, let's talk about Rebecca Lobo, and how this all connects back to Caitlin Clark. Here's the truth, if Caitlin gets seriously hurt, it's a disaster. Everyone knows it. The fans, the players, the networks, the league, even if they won't say it out loud. To her credit, Rebecca Lobo didn't dodge the issue. She said what needed to be said, and she said it carefully. But if you really pay attention to her words, it's more alarming than it sounds. What she pointed out highlights just how fragile the situation is, and how high the stakes have become.
She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her all of the time. That being said, I was in contact with a number of WNBA coaches yesterday about this topic of the officiating in the WNBA, and all of them said it needs to get better. Specifically, the consistency, not only from one game to the next, but the consistency within it.
Did you catch what Rebecca Lobo said? She didn't just mention a few coaches being worried. She said every single coach she's talked to agrees that the officiating is a big problem, and here's where it gets even more serious. If all the coaches believe the refs have lost control, they have no choice but to change how they play. They'll have to follow an unspoken rule, one that says, if the refs aren't going to protect our players, we will. That's when things can get risky, and the game can get a lot more dangerous.
One coach told me, we tell our players to be as physical as they can possibly be for 40 minutes because we know for 38 of them, they're pretty much going to get away with it. So I think everybody would like to see a tighter whistle and a little bit more freedom of movement.
Exactly. It's like telling drivers, go as fast as you want, there's no highway patrol. If you don't speed, you'll fall behind, even if it's unsafe. That's what the WNBA is doing right now by not raising the bar on officiating. They're creating a situation where players have to get more physical just to keep up, even when it's risky, because survival is what matters, and everyone knows the refs won't step in. We've already seen the results, the obvious fouls against Caitlin Clark, the cheap shots, the hard body checks, and the growing frustration from coaches and fans. When this keeps happening over and over, it stops feeling like just bad oversight. It starts to look like the league is quietly sending a message.
And they just kept shoving Caitlin. They're like, well, they can't just keep calling fouls. I'm like, they're literally just running around hacking her. The referees have made it like a point that this is how you beat the fever. You hack them. It's not being physical. You just hack them. Because the referees are going to allow them be hacked. Late in the game with the fever, hack them. Not being physical, hack them. Don't go for the ball, hack them.